I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing.
This week, U.S. President Joe Biden.
Fucking hell. Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Harakakadash. They want to see apostles and elders of great most on the roll well, and shalom to the brothers doing like certain truth. Yeah, you got the Golden Dome, as it's being called, which is the latest phase in being discussed and developed towards weaponizing space, and that's been a big talk really with the first not cycle, what's the term? First term, yeah, that's the one. The first term where Trump was in office, where he essentially, from then was looking to develop space, weaponries in space. And now you have it being spoken about and passed. The initial setup, at least in space. And of course, the significance of this is, they're looking to do battle with Yahushua when Yahushua makes his return. As far as for Yahushua coming back into, onto the earth. He's going to come with clouds, with chariots, what the world calls UFOs or UPAs. And as such, though, the people currently bearing rule, Esau, Edom, is looking to contend, man, looking to fight. I'll play a bit more.
And Donald Trump announced a design for a $175 billion Golden Dome missile defense program aimed at blocking threats from China and Russia.
So they're saying it's for blocking threats from China and Russia. And that's, one degree of it. But generally, the weaponization of space is fulfillment of prophecy as far as, contending with Yahushua upon his return.
Program, first ordered by Trump back in January, aims to create a network of satellites, perhaps numbering in the hundreds, to detect, track, and potentially intercept incoming missiles. Andrew Reddy, an associate research professor at the University of California, Berkeley's.
So, it's similar to Iron Dome in State of Israel, but then even with that, that's on a much lower scale. These guys are looking to have it where, I'll read into it, they're looking to basically be able to fucking pinpoint and deal with whatever shows up from the atmosphere. It says on Reuters, it says Trump's Golden Dome plan could launch a new era of weapons in space. It says US President Donald Trump's Golden Dome missile defense concept revives a controversial decades-old initiative whose ambitious construction could upend norms in outer space and reshape relations between the top space powers. And yeah, that's the thing, is with the full utilization of weapons in space, that pushes everything kind of forward into a different phase where, you kind of had, initially it was, I think it'll go into it, but it's similar with, if you were to use like seafaring as an example, you kind of have like the initial setup and use of seafaring is going to be for like exploring, reconnaissance, to kind of, work out, then even trade. But then, it got fully weaponized. And, once it got weaponized, everyone else had to weaponize space. Same for the air as well. Aircraft got developed. And then, okay, now they've weaponized, flying through the air. It's that's now you have things like no-fly zones and whatnot, air superiority. Because why? Those things will basically lock it down to where it gives you an immense amount of control. So it'll be the same thing with space, and the final kind of shield ball. What they're looking to do is from Yahushua, from his return, because as far as the elites are concerned, they know he's coming back, and as people in the world now, they're currently only seeing things as far as the picture's been painted with China and Russia, but it's everything's being angled so that when Yao Shai returns, then he'll be demonized by the society. It says what the announcement of the Golden Dome, a vast network of satellites and weapons in Earth's orbit, set to cost $175 billion, could sharply escalate the militarization of space, a trend intensified over the past decade, space analysts say. Yeah, because it was 2016 when Trump got in, and he was really the one that gave it a big push, and then everyone else, kind of other nations, reflected off that push, because while the world's biggest space powers, the US, Russia, and China, have put military and intelligent assets in orbit since the 1960s, they've done so mostly in secret. US former President Joe Biden, US Space Force, under former President Joe Biden, US Space Force officials had grown vocal about a need for greater offensive space capabilities due to space-based threats from Russia and China. When Trump announced his Golden Dome plan in January, it was a clear shift in strategy. One emphasizes a bold move in space with expensive, untested technology that could be a financial boon to U.S. defense contractors. The concept includes space-based missiles that would launch from satellites in orbit to intercept conventional and nuclear missiles launched from Earth. So yeah, space-based missiles. That means what? They're looking to have means to make offensive and defensive strikes from space. And that's the thing it's been, pushed and looked at from a while. And as it said earlier, what the biggest powers have put military and intelligent assets in orbit. I think this is the one where it says, I think it's opening a Pandora's box, said Victoria Sampson, Director of Space Security and Stability at the Secure World Foundation think tank in Washington, referring to deploying missiles in space. We haven't truly thought about the long-term consequences for doing so, she added. Sampson, other experts said the Golden Dome would provoke other states to place similar systems in space or to develop more advanced weapons to invade the missile shield, escalating an armed race in space. Which, that's gonna go down as and when, these things develop. Then, the other nations are gonna jump on it as well. You've had from a while back, India jumping back into getting into space. China's been doing their missions as well. North Korea's been shooting on rockets. Everyone's been up in the militarization and development of those technologies, and these are ways of essentially trying to vie for influence, but the true end goal, especially when it comes to space, is Yahweh Shai's return, because it's something you can go into Hollywood. It's something that's being addressed. We have the alien invasion flick, where a force comes from beyond, and then where was it? Yeah. So it says a bit further down, it says primarily seeking to defend against a growing arsenal of conventional and nuclear missiles from the US adversaries, Russia, China, and smaller states such as North Korea and Iran. The Golden Dome plan is a revival of a Cold War era effort by former US President Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative, better known as the Star Wars program. So yeah, that was the former means by which they were looking to do it, and that's the same thing that Trump's looking to revive, and now you have funding going through. So I think they said it was like 25 mil 25 billion has been cleared through with, the funding plan that just went through uh, earlier, earlier in the week. And, that's kind of been the big push, where it's like, now that money's been unsealed, they're looking to develop it further. I mean, they said they had certain contracts as well. Yeah, there's different countries, Elon's up in the mix. Yeah, they said 25 billion initial investment out of the 150 billion. So there's still more to go, but it's on its way. And that's, with these things being pushed, especially like, Star Wars and that, space, the Golden Dome. These things are, I just see it as they're looking to try and tempt Yahushua to an extent, or essentially be, boastful or prideful, as far as, okay, yeah, we're gonna defend, and we're gonna have, when Yahushua makes return, we're gonna be ready. We're gonna have means our hands, which, that's according to prophecy. Because what does it say? Revelation 12:7, and there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against a dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels. You go into the church, they're gonna break this down that, you had Michael and the Satan just, getting into fisticuffs. They'll punch, and it was like Goku and Beerus. They'll punch it up in the heavens, shake in the heavens. Michael's having to go Super Saiyan. That's how it's described. But no, this is talking about the angels basically contending with Esau's military, man. The dragon and his angels, man. Esau's power structure and the various technologies. Because that's the biggest boastful part of Esau's pride, as far as to him exercising his rule on the earth. Military capabilities, military might, even, all the technologies he develops is through, military means, how it's utilized, as far as within a military context, then leads to it filtering down through the process of time to civilian use. So, that's going to be the main thing. He's going to be leaning on, relying on that military capability to defend himself, which is where it's looking like, oh, okay, he's elite and really thinking, Yahushua is going to come back on the scene, and then they're gonna pull the wool over Yahushua. Well, no, they're gonna deal with Yahushua, and then pull the wool over the Most High's eyes, and then inherit the blessings. Man. But what does it say? And prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. Yeah, and prevailed not. So they're gonna flop, and it's gonna be a failure. But they need to contend. They need to contest. Because why? That's in Esau's spirit. And it's really a showcase of, the shifting of the times. Where it's going from Esau's rule, Esau's kingdom, that little season that needed to, to exist. To then, the table being set for Yahushua to come sweep in and take care of all that. But then what? It means that these these defenses means need to be developed, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.